South by Southwest, the music and arts festival, got canceled today because of the coronavirus outbreak. Any concerns? Anything that you guys can do to try to... Hey, it's a legitimate question. It's a legitimate question.
Boo! Boo! Marc Raimondi joins us now on SportsCenter UFC Fight Camp. Marc, I'll be asking the legitimate questions now. Coming up this weekend, we have Paul Felder against Rafael dos Anjos, a different main event than we had at this point last week. Legitimate question for you. Did we upgrade main events from Makhachev dos Anjos?
I think in terms of pure action and excitement, it is very possible that this could be a better main event than Makhachev versus dos Anjos. Paul Felder is really, Phil, and you know this, he's one of the most exciting guys in the lightweight division. He's a brawler. He loves to stand and bang. His manager told me when I spoke to him the other day, his manager, Brian Butler, said, normally when Paul Felder fights, both fighters go to the hospital. Win or lose, someone's going to the hospital, usually both. So that kind of tells you all you need to know about Paul Felder, his strategy, his style, and what he brings to the table. So it could be, in terms of violence, a little bit more of an exciting fight than Makhachev, who is a straight wrestler.
And you look at the betting odds, it's a closer fight. Felder, 3 of his last 4 fights have been split decisions, competitive nature there. So I tend to agree with you with that one. We'll stick with the lightweight division, Marc. Coming up in January, it is all but confirmed. Just Conor McGregor has to put his signature on the dotted line. McGregor Poirier II at UFC 257. My question to you, should there be a belt, interim or undisputed, attached to this fight?
I don't think so at this juncture, Phil. I don't think we need a belt for this fight. First of all, I don't think it's important that there's a belt at play. It really doesn't matter a whole lot. I think it's a great fight on its own. Doesn't really need a belt to lift it up in any way. But I will say, if we find out some more information about Khabib Nurmagomedov and his future, whether or not he's going to stay or if he's going to leave, just Tuesday, Khabib's manager Ali Abdelaziz tweeted simply a few numbers, 30-0. That's what Khabib would need to do in order, if he comes back, he can go 30-0. So I think there are some signs. Dana White seems to think that Khabib might come back for a 30th fight. If that's the case, there's just no need for a belt in this fight. The winner, I do think, would be the number 1 contender, but to put an interim label, I feel like it almost minimizes things. This is a big deal. McGregor coming back, rematch against Poirier, who's one of the best lightweights in the world. It's a great fight on its own.
Well, let's continue to look ahead into 2021. Jan Blachowicz' first light heavyweight title defense. We know his family is expecting an addition toward the end of this year. He says he doesn't want to fight till March. Glover Teixeira made quite a statement against Thiago Marreta Santos on the past weekend. Marc, my legitimate question to you, who should Blachowicz face in his first title defense? Glover Teixeira or, in a super fight, middleweight champ Israel Adesanya?
I have a legitimate answer for you, Phil, actually. And I'm going to let you in on a little bit of a secret. The real reason why Israel Adesanya is in the conversation to get this light heavyweight title shot against Jan Blachowicz is very simple in my eyes. They think that Israel Adesanya can be a big star. He's already a pretty big star in the UFC, right? The light heavyweight division, all respect to Jan Blachowicz. He is a fantastic fighter, excellent fighter. But does he move the needle as much as light heavyweight champions have in the past? It is one of the premier divisions in the UFC. We're talking about Jon Jones, Daniel Cormier, Shogun Rua, Lyoto Machida, Rashad Evans, Chuck Liddell, Randy Couture, Tito Ortiz, the list goes on and on. These are marquee names. And I think that part of the plan here is to have Israel Adesanya at least challenge for that belt that so many legends, that so many big draws have had. 205 has been a cornerstone division for the UFC, and hey, it would be pretty interesting to see Israel Adesanya carry the same title that all those guys that I mentioned have had before.
And somebody who never fought for that belt, Anderson Silva, and had Lyoto Machida not been champion when Silva was toying around at 205, maybe that would have been the case. So is he potentially striking while the iron is hot? My final legitimate question for you, Marc Raimondi, Jon Jones moving up to heavyweight, when and against whom do you think he makes his debut?
It's a good question. You know what? That's a legitimate question. I'll give you credit for that one, Phil. I'll throw you a bone. This is a tough one. I'll throw you a Jon Jones, Jon Bones Jones. As a matter of fact, this is a hard one because the next heavyweight title fight has to be Stipe Miocic against Francis Ngannou, right? That has to be the next fight at heavyweight. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Ngannou was waited long enough, but that fight won't happen most likely until the first quarter of next year, March, maybe even April to go into the second quarter of the year. So then what does Jon Jones do? When are we going to see Jon Jones again if he's really making this leap up? Does he fight the winner? That seems to be right now here in November 2020. It is 2020. How can you forget? That seems to be the path for Jon Jones. Who else should he fight at heavyweight? No other matchup makes sense. He has to fight either the top guy or the champion. And those two guys are going to be fighting each other here coming up in a few months. So I don't think we see Jon Jones until maybe next summer, if at the earliest.
Marc Raimondi, thanks so much for joining us here on UFC Fight Camp.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.